When I hear that music, it always just takes me back through all the good memories. And today, especially, it hits the feels, Jarod. My favorite player ever, personally, and a lot of our favorite players ever, Luka Modric, one of the ideal midfielders, is leaving the club. Any initial thoughts before we get into our episode?
Yeah, end of an era, man. Luka Modric, as you said, when you think of, at least Real Madrid fans do, and I think many world football fans do, when I think of like a classic midfielder, like that's who I think of. I think of Luka Modric and just his ability to create for himself, create for others. He was at his peak, the best midfielder in the world. He won the Ballon d'Or. He won FIFA Player of the Year. Dragging, and I'm not denigrating like the rest of the Croatia squad, but taking that Croatia squad to the World Cup final, that was an act of heroism. Like, that's how amazing he was, right? Because Croatia's talent relative to, let's say, France, right, is nowhere near as high, right? But Modric was so good. He bossed, right? Like, he was just the man, and all the memories he's had for us, the assists to Cristiano for Champions League goals. There's so many memories, and the club will give him the proper send-off on Saturday. That'll be his last match at the Bernabeu, our last match of this dreadful season, thank God. And he will play out the Club World Cup with Xabi Alonso. I think it's kind of cool because he was teammates with Xabi, so I think it'll be cool just to like have him share the pitch, and he'll play a little bit in the Club World Cup and hopefully help the squad win. But I think going forward, it's the right move, Sid. One of the hardest parts about sports and life in general is nostalgia, right? Like, and it's such a powerful drug, which is why it's commoditized, and because people because the feels, and you're trying to recapture something that was just so warm and iconic, and it makes you all the positive endorphins it gave you. You're always trying to tap back into that, right? But the reason why it's a thing you're trying to get back is because the reason why it was so perfect is because of it happened in that moment. That's why it was so good. And you're never going to recreate that, no matter how hard you try. And so with sports, as legends age and it's time for them to move on, we shouldn't be sad about that, right? We should be like, okay, yes, we're never going to be that again, but we honor it for what it was. The most decorated player in club history, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of trophies won, and we honor him for that. But him leaving now opens up a roster spot for a younger player to develop, and it will, those minutes that Xavi might have felt inclined to play him more because that's his guy and because he trusts Luka. That's now Arda. It's sink or swim time, my friend. And, we'll talk about Arda when we get to him, but I think this year is going to be critical for him going forward into what we think he could be for Real Madrid.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys didn't tune in, we did a keep, sell, loan episode a couple weeks ago, or almost a month ago, probably by now, but where we talked about who we want to keep at the club. We were both in agreement that it's probably time to let Modric go, unless he doesn't care to play, which is just not why a guy like him wants to stay for one more year. He's staying because it's like 40-year-old Modric on the pitch in the Champions League. Like, that's what he wants. I get it. I would want it if I were him. So there's no point keeping him if he's going to take away Guler's minutes. I'm excited. I hope we win a trophy for him.
Me too.
And with him moving on, we're officially like at the end of the era of like the two controllers, the Kroos and Modric era. Yep. And really, it was a much more complex era, but they were the stimulus. Like, they come in, then, okay, we can play Marcelo and Isco and play at their pace. They all speak the same football language. Ronaldo spoke a very heavy metal football language for many years. And like, it was great. I would argue, like, even in 2012 when we won, it almost was going against where Guardiola was taking the meta. And it was going like sometimes wasted dribbles. And again, from 2009 to 12, he cut the wasted dribbles in half and doubled the goals, which was crazy. And yet it was still a lot of dribbling reliance sometimes in transition. We were still the best playmaking, like Benzema, Di Maria, Ozil, the way they would ping the ball back and forth, no question. But when you got into like the so-called half-court offense, Jarod, that was our big problem. We lost to Bayern in 2012 because Kroos played incredible half-court offense. And we didn't have that half-court play. And Ozil was that guy, but when we used him, it was too much of like the associations built where Ozil to Ronaldo direct. There was no, hey, let's move Ozil into a Modric role. That was never going to happen. He was a 19, 20 assists per season guy. Why would you do that? So now we're officially at the end of the era, and I think it's a good moment because Alonso has seen the tactical evolution of football. His last season here was when he and Modric, in my opinion, like somehow carried. I still don't get how Alonso, Modric, and Di Maria made a midfield work, dude. Like guys, like they don't look like they can make a midfield work.
Right.
With Bale, Benzema, Ronaldo, like the so-called lazy Real Madrid Galacticos up front. And like, you know, Marcelo, the rogue. I mean, I guess Coentrao played more that year, but to give it to him. But I just see that this is a perfect moment because Alonso gets the Club World Cup with him, like you said. And I think he's a coach with enough ideas that you can truly move on. And it's just different to when Zidane came back, when it's like, okay, like you got to lean in on these guys more. It's just a different time. But so in that, I think it's awesome because now all our current players, their development in possession gets prioritized instead of like leaning on Luka.
And that was my big thing with when Carlo was here. And I understand, look, Carlo got a lot of blame for his circle and never expanding it and trusting who he trusts. But I understand why he trusts who he trusts, right? He has decades of experiences of saying, I know leaning on Modric gets me this result because I've seen it with my eyes a billion times. I don't know if Arda can do this thing. I have not seen him do it, right? And so I don't trust that. And when you're a manager and your job is wins and losses and you will get fired if you lose, I get why you think that way. But I think Xabi's different in that he has more ideas and has different ways in which he can figure out, okay, what's the best way to utilize Arda and help his development. And I think, Sid, it's the closing on another chapter of Real Madrid and our club's decorated history with Modric going, right? Because, you know, Carvajal is sort of the last one left of like that group, right? And he's going to be a bench player, no doubt, starting next season. So now it's the new era of potential legends. And who is it going to be? Is it going to be Vinny, Jude, you know, Arda, Hoyson, right? Trent, whoever? Like, is this the next era of the way in which we talked about Cristiano, Benzema, Bale, Modric, Cruz, Isco, right? Is it going to be the next with this group? And we'll see. Time will tell, and we'll see if this is going to be the crew that's our next set of legends.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of like that era where you had some holdovers like Ronaldo, Ramos, and in this case, the holdovers are younger. That's the main difference. We have a way younger team. We won way more with like a weird, like old and young team. Whereas before we were in our prime and playing like the best team ever, or right there, like top. We were one of the top 5 teams, and they were too. It was ridiculous. And that's why I'm excited. Like even Barcelona are not really as scary if we get our things right. It's like Alonso's going up against like such a nerf juggernaut domestically.
I love it. A nerf juggernaut.
Dude, like you can win, like you can't lose the league with 90 points anymore. Like that used to be a thing, dude. It's still the only era where 90 points meant like you might finish second or even third, dude. That's years, which is ridiculous. And I'm excited because I think Alonso really leans in on athleticism defensively. Is like last season he struggled to integrate Alex Garcia from Girona, but that was a worse team where you need to play the back three. You need all these guys to make sure there's a like baseline competence. Here, everyone's good. We already talked about what he's going to do defensively. He's going to structure everyone, give it to them. Now let's talk about what he's going to do for everyone offensively. Now I know you wanted to start with the back line, but if we're just going off players we had last year, who? Is there anyone we talk? Asensio is the only one who's going to be playing anytime soon, right?
That's true.
Out. Rudiger out. Yeah. Alaba, who knows? Militao out.
Alaba's hurt too. Yeah, he's not playing either. So Asensio is literally the only player who has played from the back line this year that will be playing next year. I think we both agree we like Asensio on the ball. I mean, I think we talked about it on the last show. Literally the first time he touched the ball as a member of the senior Real Madrid team was that long pass to Jude assist for that goal. I was like, well, that's a pretty high bar to set, my friend, as your first freaking touch of a ball of Real Madrid. And I wonder, when we are in possession, is that going to be when we are 3 at the back? And when I say 3, meaning that, let's say it's Asensio, let's say it's Trent, and let's say it's Housen, just for sake of argument. Those are the 3 best, you would say, right, Sid, on-ball defenders that we had in terms of passing, progressing the ball, and helping us in our build-up.
Yeah, I mean, if we get Carreras too, he's good. It's like we're going
not kind of because he's not here yet, but
yeah, I'd agree. And I guess that's where with Asensio, it's almost like I think on the ball there isn't much you need to change in terms of like how good he is. You don't need to teach him how to make the right read. I feel like he has that down. So it's kind of weird. Like you get a youth team center back who's super polished in possession. If anything, you polish him out of possession.
Yeah,
I would say if he's really that good, where he can make those passes, like weaponize him, like an Arteta or a Pep kind of does, because you don't need the you don't need the midfielders to be the only ones doing the controlling. When you have this much talent, you can kind of invert the fullbacks and the defenders can take care of the same job instead of advancing. Before, maybe Modric, Cruz drop, the defenders advance. Now we don't need the midfielders to drop at all. And I think I would like to see it weaponized, because that type of aggression is really good in possession. It's like what you pay for in Carreras and Hudson. You pay for this. And yes, those guys are higher volume. Yes, they've been superstars established, but yeah, I think if you have one goal, it's like turn him into like a god tier ball player.
So one of the challenges we had this year was when our defense was high up the pitch, right, progressing the ball, and then if we turned it over, which we did often because guys were just all over the place, we were screwed because now we're scrambling back and everybody's out of position. I think Xabi will change a lot of that and not have too much of that happen. Whom do we want advancing forward with the ball from this back line? I mean, Trent can pass so well. Do we want Trent advancing? I know Carreras can. He's very much good at overlapping at that left on that left back side. So do we want him advancing? Hoysen's also good. Do we want him? Who do we want advancing in possession from that back line?
Yeah, I think we want Trent playing like the Cruz right side role almost in some ways. Like I think we want Fede moving wide. I think we're going to use Fede as like move from midfield. It's going to be a lot of like, hey, you guys go in front. We take up your positions. We might see less advancing because Carreras, I don't want to see Carreras advancing. And I don't want to see, because I mean, we can't, I think he will advance, but like, that's not a traditional, like, go get the ball up the field, drive it fullback. If anything, like the guys who can do that, my thing is like, get Fran good. When you need it, when you need someone for that, use Fran, bring him off the bench, throw him up the line. If you need someone to advance it right back, actually, you get Carvajal. Carvajal and Fede. Now you don't need him all the time. That's perfect for him. He can play the traditional fullback role. And I think, I think Carvajal, Fran, and Fede are going to be the guys who attack wide areas. And I don't know if Fede ever becomes a right back or anything. I just put him out there because, like, this guy just, like, tucks in with the back line and defense, and then he makes the runs the team needs.
He's so versatile, man. Like, and we'll get to him in a minute. I mean, we can get to him now. Do you think, Sid, his versatility has hurt his development in that because he's so good, Carlo can just plug him anywhere, but he's not getting enough reps at what maybe his best position and skill set is? And maybe that's the question. What is Fede's best position and skill set?
Yeah, so let's just touch on what we thought of him last year then, for context for everyone. I feel like last year was his chance to reach a new level in terms of in possession, dominance, passes. And also we're not going over all the metrics yet. Let me pull them up, but in general, he had a career high in 23-24 and across the board in possession. So expectations were sky high going into the season, did not come close to meeting them. And as we talked about, he kind of sees himself as a role player, like, all right, I got the ball back. Let me just give it to the creators. Let me move, get out of the way. And I think if you rotate him properly, like, he has shown elements of being able to do more many times. It's mainly because he can dribble and he is press resistant. But he had the same problem Tchouameni, and frankly, most of our team had this year, where because the coach was subpar, in my opinion, and it was a new situation, which the coach was not prepared to deal with, everyone looked confused and was slow. And I definitely think there's more available from him in possession than what we saw this year.
I agree. I'm with you 100%. I obviously, we know long range shots from outside the box. Yes, Fede, please do more of that. He's excellent at that. And I think, to your point, very press resistant. And he's got such pace when in possession, like charging up the field. Like, you can't take the ball off him. He's a really excellent dribbler, like in that space. And I wonder, can Xabi unlock more of that? I thought your point about him being like behaving like a role player is interesting, because I think that's Fede's personality. If you hear him talk, or just, he's a natural, no, let Jude and these other guys go up front. I'll stay in the back. That's his personality, just as a person, like, in the world. He's not a demonstrative, boisterous, like, I'm taking charge of this. That's just not him, right? And I think that plays in on the field, to your point of, let me go give it to Vinny or these other guys because they can do the thing. And I think if we can get him to take a little bit more of that out of him, because it's there, the skill set's there. We see it, right? When he plays for Uruguay, for the national team, we see it there, right? Like, we can bring a little bit, and I think, again, Alonso might be the coach to do it, bring a little bit more out of him. And you mentioned the key thing. If we rotate him properly, he will be rested better and have more of the ability to do that instead of having to put out fires for literally everybody on the field because he's got to play 10 billion minutes. So I think my development goals for Fede for this season would be in possession. Can Xabi unlock him more, utilize that press resistance to our advantage, and unleash him more as that sort of like press resistant attacking from deep midfielder.
Yeah, and I think he's also I think if he chooses like, okay, I can't give 100% somewhere, it's going to be offense first. He's not going to stop on defense. That's really what it is. Because like 100% Fede can probably give you both ends really well, but like you can't do it twice a week for all year, for multiple years in his prime.
Playing 9 million minutes a season like he has been.
In a non-existent defensive system that also overexerts him relative to most players in his position in history. So just going over his stats, he did start scoring again this year, more like a goal every 5 games compared to like not many last year. And his output was pretty close to career high as well. His XG went down though, like lower than the last 2 years. And then 0.07, where he was at 0.15 in 22-23, 0.11 last year. Progressive carries have gone down this year by 1. He was around the 3 mark the last 2 years, 3.7 the first year, 21-22, but he was coming on the scene. So I'm not really counting that. I'm looking at the last 2 years and then this. So
he's very good at progressive carrying. Very good at that.
I think that dropping off by 1 kind of shows you exactly what happened this year. Like he was cooked. He was no longer driving it. So 1 less 10-yard carry per game towards the penalty area. His progressive passing was kind of similar to last year. Progressive receptions went down by 1. So he's also not. He basically was not advancing it with the ball as much and receiving it advancing. That's just like total. That just points to like coach couldn't figure it out. Like got worse on every aspect. Let me just also get the passing real quick while we're here.
And to your point, Sid, I think you're right in saying that because he has to do so much, if he's going to give a little bit less on one end of the pitch, it's going to be on offense because his natural nature is to protect and save, right? And so let me help everybody. That's defense, right? So I'm going to give all out to protect us on that end. And on offense, we got enough guys. You guys figure it out.
100%. And just going at his touches. So he did have a career high in touches this year. I think it's interesting how a lot more of them were just from the defensive penalty area and defensive third. Touches in the middle third went down. Touches in the attacking third went down this year. So he's getting more touches. They're all deeper. We're not getting out of our half, guys. It was horrible. Like
horrible.
It was so bad. Actually, this is vindicating. I'm glad I'm looking at this for the first time on the show. This is good. Once attacking penalty area touches divided by 2 from 2 years ago and kind of like almost half of last year too. And then let's see, as far as his take-ons, he was attempting fewer take-ons than before as well. Yeah, got super, super conservative. It's like, okay, if I don't beat someone, then I don't have a cruise to like do 20 passes where I don't feel bad about losing the ball. It's my responsibility to keep the ball. I can't risk it. So that's interesting as well. And his number of carries was roughly similar. So he was just getting less efficient. Lastly, just going to the pass types. Or actually, I'll pull that up in a second. But metrics down across the board, Jarod.
Which I think is again systematic to what we've been saying. Carlo didn't utilize him properly because he had to be a Swiss Army knife on defense and plug up all the holes we had. That's where all his energy went. You mentioned, touches increase in the defensive third, right? Down everywhere else. So more touches, but they're in the back because he had to save us. I mean, my God, like imagine if we had no Fede this year. What would our defensive, if we had no Fede this year and had just an average person in his spot, where are we in the table? Are we like not even second? Are we third? Like, you know what I mean? Like how many more goals have we given up this season as a result?
100%. It would be bad. And last metric we go at passes. Finally found it. Passes are career high attempts. Similar to, it's funny, he actually has a career high in attempts and similar completion to last year. And we see with all the other metrics, less receptions, less carries, similar progressive passing. All the touches are happening deeper. So instead of being this all-action Fede who's released up the pitch, who's released behind teams, who's also contributing in possession, he became like cornered, easy to box in the other team's half Fede, who kind of doesn't get loose. And it's cool to see that he's passing more, and also just interestingly, higher passes, but his short passes went down. So he's completing 4 less short passes. This is exactly everything we've been talking about. Less of the simple moves, less of this methodical stuff to get people open. As a result, he's scared. He's just playing the 10-yard obvious pass. The other team knows how to box that in. But yeah, 4 less short passes, 4 more medium passes, and a couple more long passes without Cruz, obviously. But that's okay.
Yeah, that
I think
happens.
the medium split is exactly what we were looking for. Like you're averaging a few more passes without Cruz. Why are they all going medium range? Because nobody, like, we're not coming short. We're not playing together.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and this is why I think it's perfect that we start with Fede, because we're going to stay in the midfield now, because now I think ultimately when Xabi Alonso brings more structure and control to this midfield unit, what is this? I'm assuming we're going to play with 4 midfielders is my guess, right? So Jude is like the attacking midfielder at the top, and it's Fede, Tchouameni, and Camavinga or Arda, right? Some combo of that of that 4. And so if we move to Tchouameni, well, let me ask you this question. What is the ideal 4 to have more of that, what you just talked about, which is that ping, 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 one-touch passing, right? And again, I'm not asking for freaking Busquets, Iniesta, like, that's not what I'm asking for, but we are so bad, or we were this past season, at that one touch and that connectivity between our midfield in our build-up, right? So what's the ideal 4 for us to do that?
I think it's going to be Tchouameni, Fede. I think Fede is part of it because of defense and mobility. But I think you could go one of Fede or Camavinga and Guler. If we're being really going there, it's going to be one of those 2 and Guler plus Bellingham and Tchouameni, or like a Ceballos instead of Guler, or even a Ceballos and a Guler.
When you really want control.
To be honest, I think the gap between Tchouameni, Fede, Camavinga, I hope, and like a Ceballos or Guler, I hope it shrinks a little in terms of how we see them in possession with Alonso. And that's where maybe we want to jump right into Tchouameni right now.
Yep, that's my next player to go to for sure.
So, yeah, I'll pull up his stats in a second.
Yeah, so I thought overall Tchouameni, he played too much center back this season, obviously, because we had no depth, and that hurt his defensive midfield development. But once he started playing DM again, said he was awesome. Like he was our player of the month 2 months in a row. Like he was awesome at DM. Like I just wished he played there all season instead of having to shuttle back and forth. I said it before, I'll say it again. I think he has the potential to be the best DM in the world. Like I really do. Like he's in, and he could be in a single pivot. Like he could be double pivot, but he could be single pivot and be the best DM in the world. He is that good. 100%. I would like to see, and I'm sure you're going to bring up the stats now. I'm sure they're going to be convoluted because he probably played the majority of his minutes at center back.
I was just going to say, you know what? Like the stats for this are messed up, guys, because the too many center back minutes the last 2 years. And so what are you even comparing it to? We're going back a couple years at this point, so it's kind of a mess. But I will go over it in a second.
Yeah, and so now the question is, right, because I think Tchouameni I think he is press resistant. I think he can do long passes. He can do switch of play. Obviously, no one is Cruz. No one can do like style Cruz. But we're not asking. He doesn't have to do it to that level. You can just unlock him to do it more. And I think with structure, we'll be better. He's an athlete too, Sid, right? So he can progress the ball through passing and through carrying. Like he may not be. He's not an elite dribbler, in my opinion, as Camavinga and Fede, but he's not poor. He's not terrible at it, but he can progress the ball.
100%. And just, I guess, looking through his stats, progressive carries went down the last couple of years. Again, he's playing center back. I don't know how that affects things. Progressive passing is vaguely stable last 2 years. Progressive receptions have went down. I mean, that's obvious because he's playing center back. Oh my God. Passing. Honestly, this is kind of depressing, Jarod. Let's not. Like, what are we going to learn from this? We're just lying to ourselves. He played half his minutes at center back. I'm not looking at the stats, but is there anything here? Maybe the possession, his touches have went down the last few years.
Of course,
DM.
He's out of position. I think so. Let's look at him when you see him playing at his best for France. So let's go back to that World Cup, right? You're like, that is the Tchouameni that he can be. Can Xabi Alonso unlock that in that midfield? And what does that look like for us?
Agreed. And I think he can. I think the fact that he stumbled into it under Carlo is proof. And I think that's the one I'm confident will happen. And I think, there's like Alonso might see a more athletic version of him that has a lot of the same technical qualities. I think people underrate him because like he just has this reputation now. Like he makes lapses on and off the ball. And so he's so underrated. Like, dude, he's an athlete. Like he has a vision. He can shoot. You just got to like give him enough time in the same situation. And I think he really is going to thrive because he's the one who's complained before about being reactive.
I mean, like, he tells us every time, look, Carlo wants me to play there, so I'll do it, but I don't like playing center back, right? He being very upfront about it, because clearly when someone says that, what they're actually saying is, it's more than I don't like it. I am uncomfortable in this spot. All of the things I think about football don't jive when I'm in this position of the field because I don't understand. So that's why your lapses happen, because that's not where he's supposed to be. But because he's an athlete, Carlo's like, oh, you're athletic, we can put you there. It's like, but it's more than that, right? You have to have awareness and know, like, it's a different place than, I mean, the joke is he plays center back like a defensive midfielder. Well, yeah, because he's a defensive midfielder, right? And so I think to your point, it's perfectly brought up. It's Xavi sees a more athletic version of himself, right? And it's like, wow, all right, I think this guy could really do it. I think we can unlock a secret weapon that's been literally sitting here the whole time. A lot of the fan base I know is soured on him. And it's because, again, I don't think fans understand how different center back and DM are. They're not the same thing. Like they require different skill sets, your roles. It's all different, right? It's complete. And he's still young. Tchouameni's 24. Like, so I just feel like we have the chance to, with honing in this group, this could be a generational midfield.
Yeah, and also just to note, his touches have gone, let's say 85 2 years ago, 76 each of the last 2 years. But his touches in the defensive penalty area have gone up each year from 3.6 to 5.7 to 7 this last year. Defensive third gone up 19.4 to 23.5 to 26.8. Middle third has gone down, and then attacking third has gone down every year. So just giving you guys context. Next, let's go to Camavinga, because I actually think Tchouameni is the one who, like, double pivot or single pivot. He works. However, someone like Camavinga needs to be next to Tchouameni in a double pivot or in a 4-3-3. Can't be the single pivot on his own. No, I think Fede as well. Like, I think Fede and Camavinga do better next to him, and so we want and Fede, we talked about what he needs to do in possession. Camavinga, I think he's too versatile. Like, he's a better dribbler than Fede in small spaces.
Oh, good in tight spaces. Sid, he's 6'1". People that tall should not be that good at dribbling in tight spaces, because they're right. There's just too much distance between their legs and but he dribbles like a 5'7" person in tight spaces, and it's I love watching it. It's brilliant.
Yep, it's completely brilliant. And let's look at his stats. Progressive carries went down compared to a couple of years ago. They've been around 2. I think he needs to be at 3 progressive carries. He should be ripping through the defense. But I think he's an important case of actually teaching him how to dominate the game without that, because he's so good at it. And it's just such a young guy skill that, like, old heads don't need as much. Like, Cruz and Modric aren't trying to beat their man every time, you know? I think dribbling and transition in general are just young man game sort of thing in this. And, like, you need it. You can't win without it. In every sport, you need that young player, the raw athleticism. But Camavinga is just an example of someone who, the more you can teach him to, like, use it and leverage it without overusing it, the better. And just looking at progressive passing went down each of the last 2 years. Progressive receptions were higher a couple of years ago. I mean, that's just the kind of theme. Like, this team stagnated this year.
Just looking at passing. Camavinga's 22, so he's even younger than Tchouameni. We talked about this on the defensive side. The biggest thing for Camavinga is an off-season program where he gets healthy. That's the biggest limiting. Yes, that's the biggest limiting factor for him, is he's always injured, and also he has to play left center back. He has to play left back sometimes, and it's like, he's another one. I don't want him playing left back. He's not a left back, right? Like, he's a left-sided midfielder. Let him play there. Again, we can unleash this athlete who can dominate a pitch. Like, that's how good he is. He is a freak athlete, so fast. We know what he can do in terms of his slide tackles, and, like, he is just incredible at that. I want a healthy Camavinga. And again, I think, because Xavi can see it as, like, weapons, right? Like, in his mind, like, oh my God, here's what I would do with a weaponized, fully healthy Eduardo Camavinga. Guy with blazing speed, incredible defensive acumen, tight dribbling, right? Like, I just think we could do one. And again, progressive carries like Fede, right? Not only can he progress the ball up, you can dribble, he's also a very good progressive passer when he does it enough, right? And I think that's another thing that we can get him to do more of. So it's right now, Sid, with midfield, it's all excitement. I'm just excited for what Xabi Alonso can do, provided we have health.
Definitely. And lastly, also his touches went down in the middle of an attacking third, went up in the defensive third. I'm pretty sure that's just going to be a trend for the whole team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know one player we missed last time is Ceballos. And, because he's in more of a bench role at fringe minutes, we're not going to focus on him. And we missed him on defense and offense. I think he's actually a rare case where like he kind of gave the team what it needed when he played. And I don't know if there's much change. Just like keep him happy. He's really all on both ends of the ball.
Yeah, I think he's a great squad player for us, and his profile is what we needed this year, right? Xabi will love him because he's a controller, right? Like he's that guy that is that connectivity, one touch. He doesn't always play the safe pass, right? He's like, no, let's get the triangle working this way, right? So we can progress the ball. And I think you'll see him. He'll direct. No, pass that way. Like, and I wonder if because he's a squad player, he doesn't have the voice to command that people will be like, all right, yeah, I'm going to pass that way. But I think he's exactly what we need. I'm happy to have him as a squad player. On both ends, in possession and out of possession.
Yeah, definitely. And now let's go to Guler, the big one before we move to Jude and the other guys, Brahim. Guler, I think he's the big one that is like, you can make him someone who's a generational player, or you could end up like a Ceballos, or you could end up like somewhere in between. Like you sell him for 50 million, like Kovacic, maybe better than Kovacic. Maybe he has a better career than Kovacic. There's a lot of outcomes on the table.
Yep.
And this is a big year for him. I think the first thing is just let him play in the same zones or give him freedom. If it's like, hey, you get freedom to be the play in front of a double pivot, you get that consistently. Give him some freedom. I think he is the one I want to see grow into the Modric role. Like I know we spent a whole year not really getting there, but have him play like dinked through balls that like kind of test the defense, but aren't like risk of losing the ball. Have him be aggressive in like the areas like finding fullbacks, guys between the lines, but also like as soon as you're in risk, you should immediately be aware of how they're pressing you and dial that back, move the ball somewhere else, and constantly force the defense to wonder like, should I press him or sit off and just let them cook us? And that's what we're missing. I want to see that. I just think that's given his size, that's his role in the modern game. Like he's not going to turn into someone exceptional beyond the like 10 and higher mark. I just don't think he's there. So play him where he gets time and space.
I think you're right on, Sid. So Arter's 20 now, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he turned 20 this calendar year. It is possible that he could grow some still. He could still grow another inch or so, whatever. But I think ultimately your point is the right one, which is I think height-wise, this is his size. Can he get physically stronger? I think yes, he can certainly get physically stronger. He's only 20, right? So he can develop there. I'm with you. This is a critical season, and not because I want to see the finished product. We're far away from that. But I think Xabi Alonso is going to give him the opportunity, as I said earlier, to sink or swim. Here's the opportunities I'm going to give you. With them, you better take them by the you-know-whats and grow them. That doesn't mean you're going to play perfect. You're going to make mistakes. That's fine. But you better take advantage of this opportunity. Because, Sid, if through the Club World Cup and let's say the first half of the season before the January transfer window, if whatever metrics and check marks that Xabi and his staff have designed and outlined for him are not checked, to your point, that option of being on the sell table or loan table or whatever is going to be there, because we have to have players who are going to help us achieve our ultimate goals, which at this club, everyone knows is always win the Champions League, right? Like, right. And if you can't do that, we can't have you here taking up space, not doing that thing. Again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying he has to be the finished product version of what that's going to be, but you have to be making steps in the right direction. Yes, development's not linear. So we'll have weeks where he's looking really good and weeks where it might go down a little bit. That's to be expected. And I'm sure Xabi's a super brilliant football mind. He knows that. But if we have poor play all around every time, that's not going to be good for him going forward.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if he ends up how necessary he is when, like, you know, he could be something where Xabi really uses him in a bench role, like chasing a game. We need a guy who comes and starts dictating possession. Isco's been used in that role before. Modric has been used. Cruz, like the last couple of years when we rotate them, maybe some games we don't want him to start. I think the promise with Alonso is that like it's unlikely he doesn't develop at all. And it's very unlikely that he gets not utilized. If he doesn't, that would be concerning. But I think the amount of athletes we have, I think there are going to be minutes for him where if your in possession setup is good, he should be a clear plus. Where he doesn't become a plus is if you're unable to set up a positive out of possession game with him on the field. And in general, like even when we were not the best coached, bringing like playmakers off the bench still worked against these tiny teams that just can't defend us. They can't get the ball off us. Like there's a very low bar of possession coaching that suddenly amplifies his abilities, and I'm confident we get there
without question. And he's such a creative player, and he's got such vision. That left foot is, I love it. Like it's like, right. And look, and I want to be also clear, like we've seen him play elite football at the club level, at the national team level, right? Like so he can do it. It is there. And so the question is, and I think you're right, there's no world under Xabi Alonso he doesn't get better. The question is that what does that look like, right? And to your point, out of possession, does he hurt us, or is it so structured where he doesn't and we're fine, right? I think that's the big key. And what again, I don't know what he's going to develop into. I don't know if he's ever, an Once de Gala, right? I don't know. I don't know if that's the thing, but I think he will be a useful player on the job. And the question is how useful, and only time and opportunity will tell us that.
Where do we go here? Bellingham, the big one.
Bellingham.
I think for him, I've always had the conviction, too athletic and like too effective near goal to play deep. Camavinga is like creative. I think, that's another area. I think you can make Camavinga's final third decisions a little better.
Yes.
Jude, I don't lean towards trying to suddenly make his first and second phase decisions better. That's something you do when you're old and you lose your athleticism, man. Like he's too young to do all that crap right now. Like it's not. You can preserve his athleticism in a higher role. I think that's what I want. And so, as we talked about defensively, we want him playing a little higher up, maybe helping Mbappe. Don't let Mbappe and Vinny be the ones who decide how to press together. Even with a good coach, you want someone like Jude kind of barking at Mbappe, like right next to him. And then you get Jude up there, and I think out in possession as well. He's just so dangerous higher up. Like if he's up there, you have to be afraid of the run behind you. But he can also get the ball to feet. Talking about tall dribblers, he's ridiculous back to goal, and like the way he can wiggle out of a press. I think use that, but don't overuse it. Like you don't want him constantly stitching play together, but you want him drawing doubles all the time in the half space. You want him crashing the box. You want him to have the freedom to play a little wide and dribble, because he can be a pseudo winger in transition. I want all that from him. But I want it to be in a system where like he's not the only box crasher that has to run up every time. Like a little less all action. Like actually, like let him play like we did last year. Let him play ahead of the ball, like cruise. Like these playmakers take care of it. He needs to be the like tip of the dagger for me. He's too like, and that's a compliment, because when you're that good a problem solver, we want you closer to goal. You're too good a problem solver for us to waste your time trying to create a little more space. And also, being the kind of problem solver that opens space for others with your passing and timing is not something like he has it, but to the extent of a Modric, he doesn't need to have it. He's too good at too many aspects of the game. Why are you going to go develop that in him when you can just play him near goal? And so I'm very clear in what I want from Jude in that regard.
I'm with you there. Is he our only player, Sid, you think, that can receive the ball at his feet back to goal from a physical standpoint?
I think Vinicius can as well.
Okay.
Like he might have messed up at points this year. This year was a whole weird thing, but like Vinicius has never been bad at that for me. So I think Vinicius does that really well. I think Rodrygo was decent. Obviously not like the best at spinning him and moving after that, but like in terms of actually keeping it, I thought he was awesome. But yeah, I would say Jude. Otherwise.
A physical freak. I think it was worth pointing out that it has been decided by the club that he will in fact get shoulder surgery whenever the World Cup ends for Real Madrid. So let's assume we get to the final, right? So that's mid-July. 12 weeks is looking like the timeline. So you're looking at mid-October for him to return. Sid, you brought up the interesting point on our last podcast that Jude's so smart. You're not worried about him missing all that time training with the club, because he'll be around, and Xabi's message will get very clear through to him on what he wants him to do. I am with you in that I want him out ahead of the ball, up in that attacking third of the field. I think his finishing was probably a little bit off this year, but I feel like it was off because of all the work he had to do leading up to that, right? And just exhausted, like all the deep lying play work he had to do, trying to link up between the back and getting the ball advanced forward into the attacking thirds. I think that was a large reason why his attacking his finishing wasn't as strong. I think the shoulder surgery also will help. Now that nagging pain will be gone, and he can also move freely. Like, guys, I mean, you know how bodies work. Like, it's very hard to run and move effectively when you have issues going on above the waist, right? That's just because your body has to move and sync. And when you have this huge, big strapping brace over it, like, you're just not able to move and turn the way you want. And so he's super technical, tall dribbler. Again, he can hold people off because he's a strong dude, and he's only 21, 22. He can get stronger. I love him up there. I think he can be creative in terms of those little touches, just freeing up Mbappe and Vinicius, right? Getting in behind the defense for easy finishes. So his assist and goal total, I think, can greatly improve. Like, it's not going to be scoring 20 La Liga goals. It might be, 12 La Liga goals, but like 15, 18 assists just from being where he is at that point of the pitch. And I liked your point about still allow him the freedom, because when we're on transition or whatever, he can be a winger, right? He can get out and run. He's got blazing speed. I think, to your point, let's preserve that athleticism, right? Don't have him like Carlo did. All right, you got to drop and do that. We got Fede, we got Camavinga back there. We got Arter in front of them and Tchouameni. Let those guys create, never mind Trent and Dean, right? Like, let those guys progress and create forward, and let Jude, to your point, to your verbiage, be the tip of the spear.
And I think there's a possibility to go a little positionless is probably where Alonso will go. Like, that's why you have guys. Maybe, I think if we had him drop deeper, I want to see real interchanging. It was a lot of like improvisation, like dropping deep. Let's make something happen, guys. Right. Let's go, Carlo. Like, clapping on the sidelines. Let's do it, boys. But it wasn't real. I think in a system he becomes way more effective, and even if he drops, maybe it doesn't feel like I want to shoot myself when I'm watching it, like this season, where he has to drop. And also just interesting, I didn't realize how much his finishing dropped off, for what it's worth. So his career 0.25 non-penalty expected goals per 90. So a goal every 4 game worth of chances he gets on the end of, and he scores 0.26. So just about. But I think initially when you said that, Jarod, I was going to be like, no, he just finished like a god last year. So you think that's normal. It's not, but actually he did underperform it a little this year. So last year he was at 0.37 non-penalty expected goals, career high per 90. He was at 0.55 goals per minus. So that was just like, I might score 2 goals every 5 games. I'm scoring a third just out of nowhere with some howler or something, like something bounces off someone, gets to me at a rate nobody else does. Again, that broke the database. So this year, 0.34 non-penalty expected goals, dropped down to 0.28 goals without penalties per 90. So he's underperforming by 0.06 for the first time, I think, in his career. And looking at his progressive carries, went down, which I think is okay. He doesn't always need to dribble, but it's also telling. It's also telling, just like the rest of the team.
Yeah, it was interesting because just funny that you mentioned the stats, and I was like, yeah, because for me, and this is part of why Sid and I wanted to do it this way, I was going to sort of talk about what my eyes saw, and Sid would say, well, if the numbers backed it up. And I thought, yeah, the finishing was poor, and it bore out, right? Like, I think it's because of the constant shuttling at a dude, dropping deep, coming up. I think he was just exhausted, because that piece of finishing and being clinical, right? That's just about mind, body, physicality, just being like rehearsed and perfect and in fluid motion, right? That you do a million times a day on the practice pitch. But when you're tired, you're not square to the ball. You're not like and again, it's little things. Oh, he's turned a little bit, half step the wrong way. Like, that's why they're off, right? And I'm like, these margins are thin when you're talking about finishing and doing this kind of thing, right? So God tier, or expected a year ago, right? When he was fresh, not so much now. And to be fair, we kind of saw it towards the end of last season, right? When he was exhausted, right? This season, he just came in straight up exhausted because he played Euros. And so I think in many ways, while I don't love him missing all the time, this 12-week break will be huge, just in terms of, all right, man, you're just going to get a chance to actually recover and recuperate, which I think will be good for him.
100%. And sorry, my little mic thing fell off. Thanks for taking over there. I had to plug you back in. I'm just going to hold it now. Sound good? Everything sound good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Because I'm holding it with my hand now. But if we get words, also everyone, we upgraded the audio. Thank Jarod for that. He's been advising us how to do it. So if you like it, let us know. Still working on things, but this is the first step. Got a fresh system here. Wirtz, if he joins, part of the reason I feel like it's something we might entertain is because, one, Bayern and City out of the way. We just have to outbid Liverpool. We love doing that.
Sid loves sticking it, so let's just stick it to Liverpool.
Well, I actually like the funny thing is Liverpool are honestly, like, in terms of per dollar spend and how they're going to spend their money with Michael Edwards there, they are probably our biggest rival now. Like, in terms of, because there's a reason we're always going after the same players. They know what they're doing. They really know who's good. They know what's up out there. Edwards is like the biggest rival, you could argue, to like Jose Angel Sanchez and Perez in terms of like Califat. in terms of what they know. Also, breaking Alonso in the chat, they're saying will be presented as new Real Madrid coach on Monday. I'm so excited.
Can't wait.
I've been waiting for it since I was a kid. It's like Zidane comes in, criticizes. It's like, hey, Zidane was played here. He figured it out. Imagine the next guy who kind of realizes it's like Alonso 10 years later, and he's here.
I love it. No, it's going to be an exciting era. I think, look, you should know, Sid, you know me well enough by now. Listeners know me well enough by now. I'm not a hyperbole guy. I'm not a aura and like mystique. None of that stuff. I want data and facts, and that's what to judge on what I think can happen. Given all of that and what I project based on what we've seen from Xabi Alonso, both as a player and a coach, and what this squad has talent-wise, this should be the start of the next dominant era of Real Madrid. Now, a lot of factors have to work out for it to happen. Health, all the things, right? But we are setting up for what should be that, and I'm looking forward to potentially seeing that. I think, again, just to sort of wrap up on Jude.
Yeah, just want to say his progressive a few stats if you want to add them to your context at the wrap up. Dropped his progressive receptions by 2 this year. That is the big one, because like progressive passing and carrying,
right? Fine.
Like we don't want to overtax him as an on-ball creator or even as a dribbler, but progressive receptions, that needs to be high. He needs to be receiving, holding up like he's a way better Kai Havertz. Like, he's a half target man, half midfielder, half like with the some of the qualities of a winger. Use him as this guy who is always able to hold on to the ball against mismatches. Also, I want to see him, something that some coaches do, I would love to see, is have him hold it up against mismatches more. Like especially like weak fullbacks in the air. Just send Jude to pin them. Like get Vinny and Mbappe out of there. Have Jude go long to them. And I think that's the sort of innovation I want to see. Like really creative circuits that use Jude's unique abilities, and circuits planned, because his decision making in those circuits is going to be so rapid. He doesn't have to think, because he can just eat. We've seen it in transition. He just knows, like some of the transition decisions he makes, the pausa are off the charts. Like I posted a video on the Real Deal account the other day. I'm like, dude, how did he know that like it would get to a goal? Like he just slowed down and he knew it would work.
He's a brilliant footballer, has a really great mind, high football IQ for such a young player. You mentioned Wirtz. So if the Wirtz thing is real, I assume then we're not also going to bring back Nico Paz, right? Because then we have too many people that basically play the same role. 3 players that need minutes.
We might loan him. We might keep him at Como 1 more year. That's a possibility. So we'll leave Nico out for sure.
Okay. But if we don't get Wirtz, we probably bring Nico, right? Or do you think we're going to sign some other midfielder?
I don't know. It feels like a summer of wheeling and dealing. That's why I'm just like, everyone's asking, hey, what about Angelo Stiller? How about Florian Wirtz? Or how about like this prospect? And every time I'm just thinking, hey, I think there's so many ambitions. I want to just see it happen. I just like, it's a lot of energy to just go entertain these things sometimes. And like, maybe they're like, hey, we got to deal with Arsenal for Nico Paz for 40 million. You never know. The way the team moves is sometimes really random. I would love to see Paz here. I also need to watch him more, so I don't want to talk too much about this.
Yeah.
But also just Jude, one last thing. His short passes dropped by 7, actually, from 32 to 25 completions. That, like, his total passes dropped by 4, and 7 of those were short passes, and he tried compensating with longer passes.
Right.
That's also an example of what we need to see change. Like, trust the short pass, trust the circuits. We don't want you to see you play hero ball because you don't have a choice. And again, he won't. That was on Carlo this year. And so now I guess like a more fringe player, not Nico Paz, but like kind of the guy in the Nico Paz spot for our team, Brahim Diaz, in a sense. What do we want from him? I think honestly, like I think he's better the more controllers you have. When there's a platform where he's willing to take risks and he can take them, and you have other attackers who can also do that, he's so good. But when like the team lacks structure, like he also kind of like Jude and Fede really got hurt by that in possession, where all the dribbling or any risks are amplified. They suddenly don't feel like they're worth it.
Yep. I agree 100%. I thought not having Cruz affected Brahim a lot, right? Like, again, it affected the whole team, but that point you make about having that lack of control. So now Brahim's got to do a little bit too much, right? I want him to go back to being that super sub he was off the bench for us. Not this season that's going to end, the season before, right? He was awesome, right? Like the dribbling, it was just the finishing. Like, I wonder, my guess is all his numbers are down. The finishing.
Oh, I just looked. It's kind of scary, but like, well, forget finishing and non-penalty XG 0.34. He finished worse, like 0.26 goals minus penalty kicks per 90, but 0.34 in the XG column. And then progressive carries dropped by 1.5. That's a concern. 2.93 from 4.56. We want him carrying the ball. Progressive passes went up slightly. Progressive receptions went down by 3. He was at a whopping 9.56 per 90. He gets on the field, we're finding him behind.
That's what we want. We want that number to keep high. And that fact that it dropped so low, not good.
And I think Brahim and Jude, we want the same thing from them. Get them back closer to goal, playing together, combining the half spaces. That Brahim Jude dance after Cruz got the ball up is what won us the titles last year.
They have a nice synergy. Yeah, they have a lovely synergy. We got to get that back together. I'm with you.
That's what won us the league, at least. Even fine, the big games, Vinny shows up. But like in the league, how many games where we were trailing, Brahim comes and it's over? Like, and he was the highest goal difference per 90. So definitely want that from him. Where do we want to go from here? I don't know if he's staying.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Rodrygo staying? Oh, it's funny. So reports came out that Arsenal's interested in getting him. But then another report said that Rodrygo's going nowhere. I think ultimately this comes down to his conversation and his team's conversation with Xabi Alonso and what Xabi's role is for him. And I know Conte brought this out. He said this in our Real Deal group, that the more and more he watches Bayer Leverkusen and how Xabi Alonso likes to coach a team, the less he sees where does Rodrygo fit with what Xabi Alonso wants on this team. But since he's still here for now, let's assume that he's going to be here. We know he's playing in the position he doesn't want to play. Well, my friend, you're not going to start on the position you want to start. So to me, Sid, his best role is going to be as an off the bench player if he's going to stay here. And I don't know that you can convince someone that's already won 2 Champions Leagues. You won? That she's going to be a bench player, who scored decisive goals, by the way. I don't know if you're going to convince him that he's going to be a bench player. I don't know. I
don't think so either. And I mean, I'll pull up his stats, but it's a sad case. I think he is a 10 if I had to go, whether he goes here or goes to Arsenal. I hope he plays a 10. Arsenal are interesting because I know they're in for Bruno. If they get Bruno and Rodrygo, that would be interesting. The problem is, though, like Rodrygo doesn't get on the end of the Bruno chances enough. That's the whole problem with him. He's not the end point for a playmaker, and he's not the starting point for enough dangerous actions. So it's like you need him in a 10 role where he gets the ball, like the Grealish role. I always point to that at Man City. Like a lot of the ball, but it needs to start becoming, okay, you can't just beat the defender. So you need to tease them with the possibility of them winning it back, because when you want to beat them, you're not doing it enough. You're not fast enough. You're not quicker in thought, in athleticism. And let's just look at his stats. But yeah, I mean, if he goes to Arsenal, regarding the rumors, I guess briefly before we get to stats, he's just like he tanked his value. I was just talking to Ali and some other Arsenal fans. And yeah, I mean, like, why would an Arsenal fan want to pay more than like 50 million for this guy at this point? Like, you might go 20 games with 2 goals from this guy. Like, okay, you play him at a 10, you get double the output. And so maybe you get double the output. That's what you're betting on. But now you're betting on something you didn't see at Real Madrid, the better team. And God damn, man, like when he scored the goal against City, part of me was just new. I felt it then. I'm like, fuck, I wish we could have sold it then. And it just wasn't feasible from a human's perspective. Like, as a team, of a community, as friends. And also he was a good contributor the year before in terms of like he wasn't as good as Mbappe. We criticized him. He wasn't as good as Jude or Vinny. Right. But he was positionless in a way that let us beat Man City and Bayern. Like, he played on the left, he played up front, he had a connection with Vinny. Credit there, man.
No, he gets all the credit for that. And look, Rodrygo's in it. You ask all the Jude, Vinny, all those guys, who's the most talented player on the squad? They'll be like, Rodrygo. Like, he's got a lot of skills with the ball at his feet. So some of the poor output was in coaching, I believe, with Carlo, right? I think Xabi will get more, but to your point, Sid, you're going to play the 10 role for us? No. You're not going to play on the left side. So it's going to have to be the bench thing, right? And again, with a club that you've already established so much with, I don't know that you can convince him to do that. But also, Real Madrid's not stupid. They're not going to be like, because of that, we're going to let you go for $50 million. They're going to be like, that's peanuts. So, but you then have the other problem of he will be unhappy in a bench role, right? So the club's going to have you're going to have to bite the bullet somewhere. Where? I don't know. And that's going to, again, have to be Xabi, the club, all that, figuring out Rodrygo and his camp, what's going to work out, because you're right. We could have got 100 million from City at the end of the season, last season, when we won the Champions League. Now, if a team pays more than 50, I think we rush him to the airport and take it, like, because I don't know. Arsenal's probably like, why would I pay you more than $50 million for what?
Yeah, I mean, he's like at 0.37 non-penalty expected goals plus expected assists. So that's like 0.4 expected goal contributions per game. That's and 0.6 last year, 0.7 when he was playing striker instead of Kareem. So you're trying to sell people on that. Again, it's easy to sell the underlying numbers when you overlook the goal droughts that happen all the time. That's like beyond XG. Like that is a serious problem. I think there are some players like, I don't know if he still had this issue this year, but Nico Jackson was one. Just guys who don't finish properly sometimes. And his not XG just divided by 2 this year. That's just so that's just like the worst thing you could happen. 0.2. So goal every 5 games. I know he was shunted around, but it was disappointing. His progressive receptions went up. So he was used as this like go run up and get the ball, Rodrygo winger, and it just didn't work. His progressive passing, that's funny. 4.68 progressive passes, career high. Finally, we get someone who actually did more this year in some weird way. That's so funny to me out of nowhere. I'm like, oh wow, he had a career high.
But that plays to your point, though, that he should a 10 role, right? Because if the progressive, right, but that's not a role he can play on this team, right? Like in the starting 11.
Yeah, no, it's just like we haven't seen enough from a playmaker. We've seen a lot as that Isco type 10. And in some ways, he's kind of in the Isco type stagnancy stage of his career at Real Madrid. Like Isco had good years, maybe not enough to like be a surefire starter under every coach all the time. New coach comes in, it's like, okay, Isco's back on the bench or he's a bench player. And it's kind of like that. It really comes down to, I think he adds enough value sometimes as a backup to Vinny or Mbappe. And so you might consider keeping him. It's just at that money, it's a lot. The other thing is like how much guys get hurt. You know, if we're like, okay, at 50 million, we can like, we're more likely to have enough minutes to raise this value than having to get rid of him for this price. We might consider that. But yeah, I'm with you on 10. I don't know if City would have been the best for him because I think, I don't know, something Pep just is starting to zap the creativity for me in some ways. Like, I'm not sure if that's what I want for a fun young Brazilian attacker.
I agree.
But Arsenal also do that. Don't get me wrong. But I see an upgrade on Odegaard in possession.
Oh, yeah.
A giant upgrade.
Odegaard, who after Arsenal beat us over 2 legs in the Champions League, was like, yeah, we knew those 2 forwards up front. They like to go forward, one like to run back. I was like, bro, you let Martin Odegaard just burn you. Like, you should be so offended by that. Like, I mean, he wasn't lying, by the way. Everything he said was factual and true. But the fact that he said it, you should feel some kind of way about that.
100%. All right, now we got, I think, our big 2 here. And I guess let's start with Vinicius because we have more data for him and how he's done. I'll let you start while I just.
I don't even have to look. The numbers I know are down all across the board. Certainly, he's finishing right. He just did not finish well. And I'll say it again: the loss of the Ballon d'Or really, really bothered him and affected him. I think it brought him to a low I don't think that he realized that he could get to in terms of emotionally. I started watching his documentary on Netflix, Sid. Like, and you know me, I'm big into the human because these are human beings that play this. This is not machines or robots. These are humans. And he's an emotional person, as we know. Like, and that's good and bad, right? And it's not just fiery because somebody said something about me or fiery because I proved you wrong that I score goals. It's also he gets sad and very deeply upset, and that brings him to a state of inactivity and just blah, right? And I think losing that Ballon d'Or was such a huge disappointment. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. None of us know what it's like to lose on a professional level at that scale. You're about to be crowned the best in the world. Every footballer dreams of one day holding that, you know, when you know you're good enough, like to hold that trophy. Like Lamine Yamal's already dreaming about it right now. The million times he's going to hold it. And the fact that you were this close and you didn't, it just gutted him, man. And you saw it. Like he just was just not himself the rest of the season. Because I thought early on, Sid, he did a really good job of trying to integrate Mbappe into things. Passing to him when he would normally just go, I'm going to take this myself. So Vinny's not selfish. Like he was like, let me get Kylian going. Like and then once the loss happened, he was just shell shocked, man. And it's unfortunate because when this guy's at his best, as we saw, he's the best player in the world. Like he's fucking awesome. You got to put 2 dudes or 3 on him because he's going to get by you. And so for going forward, what I want Xabi to get that joy back in for him. And I think he will. being like, no, you're our left guy. Kylian's not going out there. It's you. We're going to spam you out on the left, like, and give you opportunities to cook dudes one-on-one like you like to do. That's what I want from Vinny.
I was watching the goal he scored in the Champions League final because I was in Mumbai. I think I've told you guys or people before, like completely jet lagged. Just got there the day before. It's like midnight. I don't know what's happening, but I just pulled up like the second day. Like, honestly, barely got there in time. I was scared the WhatsApp wouldn't get through. They wouldn't know who I am. And sorry, just plugging this in. Basically, what happened was that moment I remember was one of the heights as a Real Madrid fan. Like, he scored, the dance he did, the way the room felt. I'm just like, oh my God, we have reached nirvana. Like, nobody, what is this feeling? Like, when you win in a transition here, you're not supposed to be here. You whooped everyone, you're here. And it's just very rare that a player can lead the team that far and then has to accommodate someone. So I want to first say Vinny had a bad year, but a weird year. And I think, I don't think we'll see a year like this for a long time ever.
I don't think so.
I think things will get better. So, but like, firstly, like you said, having to incorporate Mbappe, I want to get there first, because this is where, like, this happened before the Ballon d'Or, during, and frankly, his form didn't drop off till January. Like, Atlanta, he got hurt, came back. The Ballon d'Or thing was still fresh on his mind. He cooked Atlanta, who were really good at that point. And that's the moment I'm like, damn, you just come off, every time you come off injury, how are you this good? This, even like a great player like a Messi, Ronaldo doesn't always do it. Like, you're getting hurt a lot and you're turning it on every time you're back. And then January, everything just kind of started falling apart. Now, the big mistake I thought from Alonso was like not realizing Mbappe is the off-ball guy, Vinny's the on-ball guy. I think
Carlo, you mean?
Yeah, Carlo. Carlo, just, dude, that was so obvious going into the year for me. And my big disappointment was seeing him experiment and not realize all those things. Like, not realize that the Mbappe on the left wing and Vinicius striker thing is a very weird thing. I know maybe it was a weird way to get his confidence back. To me, it came across as like, hey, maybe Mbappe is the left winger and Vinicius is a striker. Like, you genuinely thought that. You genuinely thought, like, let's make Mbappe a primary creator and force feed him. And
Mbappe is not as good a dribbler as Vinny. He's just not. Like, Vinny's just better at that. Like, he just is. Like, Mbappe's an incredible off-ball mover and finisher. Like, maybe the best ever, right? Like, he's so good at that. But can we get more of, let Vinny be the creator on that left wing, not Mbappe. Mbappe's got to move that. The striker rolls him. That's where off-ball runs. That's his role, not spamming on the left.
Yeah, and also on that note, what's it called? The whole thing where, sorry, I just totally blanked. I had something really cool to say.
It's good. And to your point about the Ballon d'Or thing, yes, he did say right after you lost it, I'm going to come back stronger, which he did. But that vindictive is the wrong word, but that, like, me against the world thing only lasts for so long, right? Before all your energy, like, the down's coming, right? And then I think he'd gotten injured or something again in early and it was like, okay, then it was like, oh, now comes the other side of this, right? Like, so yeah, he was fine. Again, bad season, but in the beginning, like, he was fine. Like, and then I think it all just started to nosedive, as you mentioned, January.
Yeah, and on that note, I remember now. So it was he started the season in the Lamine style role, where very little shooting or high, like, not some great goal scorer, but he started getting his passes through the roof, and he was really playing, like, I say Lamine in the sense that, like, Lamine is a very creation-oriented winger that we don't normally see. Like, now he's starting to score, but let's see him do it for a while. Like, people need to realize there's
I love it. Let me tell you guys a little behind the scenes. The reason why Sid's saying it is because I'm like, Sid, I think Lamine's going to win the Ballon d'Or. It's like, no, they're not giving it to a 17-year-old. This is the year they're going to say no. And I'm like, I don't know, Sid. The PR is too good.
I'm just rooting for Usman, but my point is, listen, like, he scored 9 goals.
I am not rooting. Let me be very clear. I am not rooting for Lamine Yamal to win. He plays for Barcelona, so of course I don't like him, right? I'm rooting for Dembele as well, but I just feel like that fucking Barcelona PR, man. Who else? You look on social media. Who else has the Ballon d'Or official account putting out tweets? Oh, Lamine Yamal, could this be the youngest? Like, what? Is it for anybody else in the future? I'm just saying.
No, for sure. And we'll have to do a whole other episode about Barcelona public relations and how they're so good at it. And I don't know what they occupy a weird place in this cultural zeitgeist that we have.
Weird, Sid, very weird. It's like neutrals in this rivalry between us and them. A neutral is 100% on Barcelona's side, and I don't understand why. I'm just like, yeah, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, you saw even Casillas came out the other day. He's like, some weird things in the 2000s. Now I look back, like, the way the referees were going, damn, like, it's just funny how I don't know, conversations are biased, and I know we don't do ourselves favors. We talked about with the way we gaslight referees. That's not something you want to do through official channels ever.
That's never. That doesn't help. Doesn't help.
Oh, it's dumb. But yeah, and on that note, Vinny started the year so in the Yamal role, like in a Yamal creator role. He started making these crazy bendy crosses on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and at the end of the year, he still finished with 0.36 non-penalty expected goals, which is actually the lowest since his breakout. Fine, lower than 21-22, which was 0.38, 0.4 the year after, 0.52, career high last year where he became a better goal scorer. Expected assisted goals went up to 0.32, career high. 0.29. The thing is, he was at 0.4 plus 0.29 2 years ago. This year, he was at 0.36, lost a little expected goals, but the expected assists bumped up. So his overall production is 0.67 non-penalty expected goals plus assists, similar to 2 years ago. I think that's solid. Last year, he was at 0.77, and 21-22, he was at 0.65. So he didn't really like mathematically regress too bad in that sense. And you could argue like some of the early season was like a little luck, like everything was going in sometimes with his passes. Progressive carries, somewhat similar. Progressive passing went up a little, and progressive receptions have gone down each of, like, they were 14.8 his breakout year and the 22-23. Last year, 12.6. This year, 10.1. So not finding him high and wide as much, maybe a little more ball defeat, a little too much, like, let me try and beat my man. And like, this is never the most efficient way to play football.
You can do it sometimes, right? And he clearly can because he's that elite. But yes, to your point, you want more, giving him ball to feet, right, in those out wide areas. So it's really just like, yeah, it's space and it's 1v1, but it's not really a duel because he just blaze right by him, right? As opposed to, let me drop my shoulder, duck, and do all the step over, like, you know, like that. You're wasting a lot of energy on that. He can do it, and we've seen him do it, and he can 100. But like, you want more. You want him to have for sure receive more balls in the final third at his feet. Absolutely, 100%. Want to get that number back up.
Touches went down a little, but because not so much that you wonder. Like, it was similar to last year, and then his attack take-ons actually are interesting. 6.5 the year 21-22, the breakout year. And then the year after, when we started dribbling a lot, 9.8. So he's really trying to just beat people at that point. And then attempted. These are just attempted. And his last year, 8.27. This year drops to 7.4. So it's like 6.5, boobs up, and then starting to get back down. Success rate is pretty stable. He's at around 40%. So it's not that's pretty promising. I think ultimately it's the role, as we talked about. Get him the role, get guys moving off the ball. And that kind of tucks us into our last player here, and like how he and Vinny need to fit together in this team concept. It's really a thing they both need to do, and that's why the thumbnail is just such a funny thing. Like, they need to fit in a team concept together, and I think that means Vinny accepts he's on the ball, but that means there are certain cues that trigger him to release it. Mbappe accepts he's off the ball. There are certain cues that see him take on the secondary on-ball creation duty in the chain of passing.
Correct. I think you could not have said it better. And also from a number standpoint, Vinicius understanding that my goal total is likely not going to be the highest on this team, just straight goals, right? It's probably going to be Mbappe, or likely will be, but that's okay because my goal contribution numbers will probably be the highest on this team, right? Like that's the thing, right? So Mbappe may score 40, I'm only scored 25, but I'm going to have another however many assists, right? Because of the off-ball movement by Mbappe and our understanding of our symbiotic relationship. And in transition, Sid, there should be no scarier sight than Vinicius and Mbappe bearing down on you, and you're a goalie and a defender, 2v1. As I've said a million, as we've said on this show, how many times this season did the two of them not even get a shot off? Forget about scoring. They didn't even get a shot. And I don't mean shot on goal. I mean actually strike the ball to shoot. They didn't even do that. So that's got to get better for sure.
It was so bad. It was the worst we've ever seen. Some of the most like hero ball. It wasn't even, and the worst part, it wasn't always hero ball. It was like frustration ball too. Like, okay, like last time I gave it up, you didn't do anything with it. I'm taking it this time, man. It wasn't like, I don't want to give it to you. I don't respect you. It's like, I'm fucking sick of this. I'm sick of this shit. I'm fed up. And I just felt it all over them. And I think the comp is also in a sense like Barcelona. Like, look at how Yamal and Lewandowski have a separation of responsibilities, or Rafinha. It's Rafinha.
It's Rafinha. Mbappe
needs to be more Rafinha. Vinny needs to be more Yamal. And that's like, it's not even, it's just comps, guys. We're not saying they need to play like them. We're not trying to be like Barcelona. We're just saying on and off ball profile, have clear hierarchy. It's Vinny one on the ball. Jude and Mbappe are like playing for him, through him, around him. And I just need to go back through the tape, but the Messi, Neymar, Suarez days, the way they played, just go watch that tape, dude. They didn't care about who got to do it. They just were like, as soon as they saw the other person generate a micro advantage, they seized it and they just had fun ripping you apart together. I want to see them have fun, rip teams apart together. And I think early on, that's going to be a lot of Alonso going to them and saying, hey, like yelling at them, showing them the tape and be like, dude, this is what we do. And part of that is like, there are going to be situations they mess up that are not as egregious, And it's about actually coaching them calmly when they get composed, because you have to keep them composed.
Look, holding them accountable, right? That's the biggest thing. And I don't know that Carlo was quite able to. He was kind of losing his grip on that towards the end. I think Xabi Alonso will do that again through the similar methods Carlo does. Xabi's not so much he will raise his voice and yell if he needs to, but he's going to come to it first from a human, like, let's build a relationship standpoint, just like Carlo did, right? But here's how I want you to be accountable, because again, to your point, Bellingham, Mbappe, and Vinicius, like that trio should be as devastating as Messi, Neymar, Suarez. Well, like, right, it should be just as devastating, right? Like, and we should see that. And it's there. To your point, I love how you broke it down. When one of them sees the other one make a micro advantage, everything plays to that micro advantage. That's a symbiosis, though. You only get that through synergy of knowing roles and being aware, right? And big word I use all the time, trust. You said when we talk about the 2-on-1s, the reason why they got frustrated is because they stopped trusting each other in those moments. You messed up last time I gave it to you. You didn't do X. You didn't do Y, right? That finger pointing and blaming. Let's get rid of all that bullshit. There's no me. We as a team have to do this. And if those three get on that page, look out. Rest of world football, look out.
Yeah, no, they're the highest ceiling attacking front three if they get on the same page. And Mbappe is just statistically 0.59 non-penalty expected goals per 90. Last year was 0.56. A lot of years at PSG, outside the Tuchel years, he was at around 0.6. So in line outside the Tuchel years. I would love to see that leap, actually. I think if we're really going there, I would love to see a leap. But to be honest, his goal output wasn't the problem. I think if we can get it within the concept of the team offense better, that's what we want. Like, not like just spam chances till something works. Like, get it within the concept of the team, where if you get it, it's because it was the best option, not because like we just tried forcing it through you so many times it eventually worked. And the expected assisted goals went down, career low. He was not like getting in front of goal and squaring it as much for someone open. I think that's really probably what changed.
No, for sure. You know what's interesting, Sid? You mentioned something, the goal scoring within the team concept, and not just, oh, we're giving to you because we want you to score. It's like, no, it's because this is the advantage. If someone else has it, you play through to that. Do you think that because we have nothing to play for, and him going for not only the Pichichi but the European Golden Boot, do you think that is going to make it harder for Xabi to get that? Because right now, Kylian's just playing for himself and his individual stats right now. There's nothing team related going on. I
think it's possible, but I think so much of that was just bad coaching. I think my comp for this is when KD went from Oklahoma City to the Warriors, all right, in basketball, some of you might not know, some of you might. He's going from a team without spacing where he has to do all the shooting and carrying to a team that has crazy spacing, but they're running ISO through him. Like, and so I think a lot of it is like, if you call the play for KD ISO, like Warriors did, he's going to go take a fade. It might not be the most efficient. He's going to do what you asked him to do. And I think there was an element of that this year. I think like the spacing around him, we didn't use it. We didn't like make them all their gravity add up and multiply. Instead, it was just the most archaic thing I've ever seen. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you mess up KD on the Warriors? That's kind of what it felt like. And KD won Finals MVP just by playing within the team concept. That's my point.
Right.
That's my point. Like, I think if you actually fix it in the team concept, like, you get both, and you don't have to think. It's like, okay, I'm getting mine because we're good. You know, that's how it's supposed to be.
No, I love it. This is why we have these podcasts. I have these to break this stuff down.
100%. And Mbappe, just a couple last stats. Progressive carries went down a little. I don't care. You don't need to carry the ball. You should sometimes. You delete some, but yeah. You should sometimes because you're fast. And in big games, please, like, if you're saving it for Kyle Walker types, like, every year, go for it. But like, you know, the big game fullback. Koundé, I don't mind seeing you roast Koundé, but like, your job week to week is not to roast the other team's right back. And then Progressive passing went down. That's fine. Again, I think you're too good in front of goal to like be trying to attempt 10-yard passes. Like, how far are you from goal if you can make a progressive pass in the first place, bro?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Way too farther than you should be, Kylian Mbappe, away from goal.
And then progressive receptions went down. That I'm sure will get back up. It's 11.2 is his low, which is kind of absurd. That 11.
That's wow. That's wild. That's low for him. But that goes to show you, to your point, how bad the design was this year.
100%. And just seeing, is there anything with his? I think we had some things with his touches earlier in the year. Let me pull that up. So his touches went down, which is good. We want, like, you shouldn't really need to touch the ball much, or it should be similar, let's say. And so 45 touches compared to 50 or 55 some years. Lowest since 2018-19 when he was at 43. When he was a young Kylian, he got less touches. The attacking penalty area. Okay, by the end of the season, his touches in the penalty area are similar. Attacking third, somewhat similar. Okay, it's stabilized. He just took a few less touches in the middle third, but he's still getting the ball. It's good to know. I think the main thing is, like, for those who worried about him earlier in the year, I think we saw the talents there. He scored so much. It's just the weirdest high volume goal scoring season I've seen in a long time. Like, very little towards adding to the team, but still useful for winning and maintaining the level, but not like symbiotically elevating the team. And
yes, that's the key.
And also at points, frankly, the team had to cater to him for him to get anything in November. And like, that's where it's not a typical 40. Don't compare it to Ronaldo's first season.
No.
Not compare it, bro. Like, I don't want to hear any of that. People are so disrespectful with Cristiano. Like, this was kind of bad, guys, in some ways, and it got better, but there's work to do.
Because people look at raw numbers and not impact. That's why I asked you the question, is it possible to score 40 goals in a season and be empty stats in a way, right? Like, because in many ways, they were stabilizing goal, not what we think they could be under the right system, which are superlative, transformative dominance goals, right? Like that's the difference, right? That's what Cristiano does for you when he's scoring 40, 50 goals a season, right?
100%. And that's where, again, it was so much I feel bad because Carlo was part of the problem. And I'm hoping Alonso, with his clarity, fixes all this going into next season. I think that's pretty much all the things we wanted to talk about, Jarod.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say is just let's give Alonso time. All right. This ain't going to happen the flick of a switch. And then like the first time we see they're going to be awesome. There's going to be some growing pains and it's going to take a while.
If we don't win the Club World Cup, Jarod, should we continue with him? I'm kidding. I think he'll get time, but the squad is stacked. So there's some pressure. I think it's good. The squad is stacked, which means he has things to do. He doesn't have to deal with the board trying to attack him and gaslight him into thinking the squad is better than it is, like Zidane. Maybe.
Squad's complete. You got everything you need.
Yeah. So the gaslighting, you can't gaslight him because it's good. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how the rest of the window goes. Luka retiring today means we're definitely going to be doing, probably the next episode will almost certainly be a retrospective on him. Why not? And we have a lot more content coming up going forward. We're reading all the comments on the channel. Please leave your comments. We really appreciate it. The feedback. Audio got better today. Website is under development. It's just taking time. And thank you all for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends.
Yes, sir. We'll see you next time.